All
right, so good evening, everyone. We're going to continue from the point that we left off. Just quickly connecting with the outlines, we are dealing with how to practice Guru devotion, which is the root of the path. And in that, we have how to practice during the formal meditation session and how to practice in the period in between sessions. In the formal meditation session, we have three subdivisions: the preliminaries, the actual part, and the conclusion. We have just come to finish the preliminaries, and we are now looking at how to practice during the actual session. So if you look at page 6 of your English translation, at the top, bold letters, it's the actual practice, the actual session, the manner to practice Guru devotion in thought, and the manner to practice Guru devotion through action. So for the first one, it has two subdivisions: cultivate faith, which is the root, and the second one, cultivate respect, remembering his kindness. So in the first one, we are cultivating Guru devotion through thought, right? So if you follow the text, it says, from the heart of Guru Buddha are emanated in the space in front of yourself the lamas from whom you have received teachings directly. Having visualized them residing in the space in front of you, then you contemplate various things. Okay, so we finished the 6 preliminary practices, and we finished at the point where we had our own guru at the crown of our head. And now we visualize that from the heart of this guru emanate rays of light, and at the tips of those rays of light, we have the whole array of all the teachers with whom we have a dharmic connection. So all direct and indirect gurus that we have are now visualized. We visualize them excuse me, in the space in front of us. And as we look at them, we have to reflect and think, they are really Buddhas. Okay, why are we thinking in this way, and how can we establish this? We begin with the first argument that says that Buddha Vajradhara himself has made this statement. So going back into our text, it says, so you have them in the space in front and you contemplate. These spiritual teachers of mine are true Buddhas. The perfect and complete Buddha himself proclaimed in the precious tantric texts that during the degenerate times, Buddha Vajradhara will manifest in the form of spiritual teachers to accomplish the being's benefits. Also, these spiritual teachers of mine, except from simply showing an external different form, are indeed manifestations of Buddha Vajradhara, who assumes the form of spiritual teachers in order to take care of those of us who are not fortunate to see Buddhas directly. So we contemplate that the Buddha himself has made this statement many times, both in sutras and in various tantras, where he says, during the degenerated times, I will appear in the aspect of the guru. So just think that this statement was made many times. And just as he has said this, it is true. All of these gurus in front of me are actually Buddhas. They have different aspects. They look different from each other. However, in reality, they are Buddhas. From my side, I don't have the fortune to perceive Buddhas directly. And therefore, they have assumed this ordinary aspect that is exactly matching my level of fortune. So this is what it is. In reality, they're Buddhas. I cannot see Buddhas, and they manifest in those various aspects. So if we see here at the easy path, we only establish the fact that the guru is in reality Buddha by relying on scripture. We say the Buddha has said, or Buddha Vajradhara has said, and so forth. However, if we look at other texts, we will find other proof, which is logical proof that establishes that the guru is in reality the Buddha. And the way that we go down this line logically to establish this is by following the argument that we develop good qualities within our mind stream, virtuous thoughts, we develop those things by relying upon the guru. Now, if we look at the definition of the wisdom Dharma body. The wisdom Dharma body of the Buddha is the one that performs the enlightened activity of developing qualities in the mind of disciples. So this is exactly what fits the definition. I have a situation here whereby relying upon my teachers, I develop good qualities. And I know that developing good qualities within my mind stream is the result of enlightened activities of the wisdom body of the Buddha. Okay, so now there are only two possibilities. Either the wisdom body of the Buddha exists within the mind stream of my gurus, or it does not exist within their mind stream. If it did not exist within the mind stream and it existed somewhere else, it means that I would have, or being able to develop good qualities within my mind stream without relying on my gurus. So even prior to relying on my gurus, I would have seen this great increase of qualities within my mind stream. However, we know from our own experience that we don't develop qualities this way. Our qualities increase after we rely upon the Buddha, so upon the Guru. So that indicates that the pristine wisdom Dharma body exists within the minds of the Gurus. However, the wisdom Dharma body, if it exists in someone within some being, then that being has to be a Buddha. So if the wisdom Dharma body exists in them, they must be Buddhas. So this is how logically we conclude that they must be Buddhas, because they exactly carry out, according to the definition, the enlightened activities of the Dharma body. We also have a further logical argument that proves that the Guru is the Buddha, and that argument is that the Buddhas are still working for the sake of sentient beings. So first of all, we have to consider that they have been countless Buddhas, and initially they all went through the same process. Initially, they generated the mind of bodhicitta, then they spent a very long period of 3 countless great eons accumulating merit and wisdom and engaging in various practices. And at the end, as the result of this long training, they reach the final result of Buddhahood. When they reach the final result of Buddhahood, they continuously and uninterruptedly carry out enlightened activities that will benefit sentient beings. So if that is the case, it means still, the present day, they must be carrying out activities that benefit sentient beings. So if I really examine and look around, who is carrying activities that benefit sentient beings, it becomes pretty obvious that it is the gurus who teach Dharma to us. This is the activity that benefits sentient beings the most. So, having reached that conclusion, we should go through this logic again and again. So we should perform analytical meditation on this subject until we induce certainty. And when we induce that certainty that the Guru is really the Buddha, there is a special feeling that arises within our own mind. We're really moved by this conclusion that we reach. So when we reach that certainty with that emotional feeling that comes with that, then we stay for a while and we do placement meditation. So we combine analytical and placement meditation. So as we have said here, we need to practice this combination of analytical and placement meditation. So we perform analytical meditation because there is something we need to prove, and what we need to prove is the fact that the Guru is the Buddha. So we perform analytical meditation by relying on scripture and also relying on logical arguments. And we rely on these two until we induce certainty. When we induce certainty, we start applying placement meditation. Then, in addition to this, occasionally what we do is we make petition, we make requests. So if we follow here the text from the Easy Path that actually shows those requests, we have explained the way that we think whilst we have this visualization. So it says, by continuing, so please, Supreme Guru Yidam, bless me and all mother sentient beings so that we see all these spiritual teachers as true Buddha Vajradhara. Due to this fervent request, from the body of Guru Yidam at the crown of your head descends nectar together with 5 colors of light, which enters in you as well as in all mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies what hinders this realization. In particular, imagine that the special realization of this topic is generated in all of our minds. So when we're making this request, we make the request and we say, please remove any obstacles that stop me from having the perfect realization where I can really ascertain and being sure that my gurus are actual Buddhas. And by making this request, we have this descent of purified nectars and light. They clean and purify all obscurations and negativities we have in respect to this particular subject that we meditate upon. And as a result, we are ready and we generate these type of realizations, and our bodies also become clear and light and transparent. Okay, so as we say, we go through this process of establishing that the Guru is the Buddha, and we do this by relying on scriptural quotation that mentioned that Guru Vajradhara has said this so himself. Also, we rely on logic, and the logic that we follow is that they carry out the enlightened activities of the Buddhas, and also that the Buddhas, even these days, they still carry out activities that benefit sentient beings. However, although we try and we make the petitions and we do this meditation, still the doubt arises within our minds, and it says, yes, I'm supposed to see him as a Buddha, but how can I see him as a real Buddha? Because I can perceive this fault and that fault and that fault. So let's look at our texts. Well then, if you think that your spiritual teachers cannot be true Buddhas, since they have such and such faults engendered by the 3 poisons, while Buddhas have eliminated all flaws and are endowed with all good qualities, reflect that it is due to your impure perfections. So you think if he is a Buddha, he must be perfect. Buddhas have no faults whatsoever. Buddhas have totally developed every possible quality. But here I am perceiving faults in terms of the physical, the verbal, the mental activity. So when this happens, obviously what you have is an obstacle. An obstacle in developing that realization has arisen in your mind. And now we have to remove this obstacle. So how do we remove the obstacle? As it says, when this happens, reflect that it is due to your impure perceptions. Also in the past, due to their own impure perfections, Lekpa Karma saw all Buddha's deeds as hypocritical. Asanga saw Maitreya as a she-dog. Maitripa saw the great yogi Shawaripa as a big butcher, and so on. As those ways of perceiving are improper, also your seeing faults does not entail faults being present in those spiritual teachers, but rather it is due to your impure perceptions. So you have to consider, I'm seeing faults, but that doesn't mean that they possess the fault. I am seeing fault because of my impure perception. It's not just I have pure perception. Here we have some well-known examples. Lekpa Karma saw all of Buddha's activities as being hypocritical behavior. The Buddha was an enlightened being, was acting in an enlightened manner, had myriads of qualities, but Lekpa Karma could only see hypocrisy in every one of Buddha's actions. It's not that the Buddha was hypocritical, it's that he had impure perception in his mind. We know the story of Master Asanga, who only perceived Buddha Maitreya in the state of a dog who had wounds, and it was infected, the wounds were infected with insects and so forth. So a really pitiful state, even as an animal. So that is impure perception from the side of Asanga. And even Maitripa saw the great yogi, Shawaripa, as being someone who was butchering pigs. So these are examples of impure perfection. So realizing that it is my impure perception, we have to make the supplication. Supreme Guru Yidam, please grant us your blessings so that the attitude of seeing faults in our spiritual teacher does not arise even for a single instant, and the intense faith perceiving whatever the spiritual teacher do as positive arise easily. So recognizing that the fault is on our side, we make the request and say, help me overcome this doubt, this obstacle, this impure perception that I have. Help me so that this type of impurity in my vision does not arise even for a second. So as I say, sometimes we have this mind, this thought that arises in our mind, where we perceive faults in the Guru. But what we have to keep in mind is that sometimes the faults are not really faults. The Guru is manifesting these faults as a skillful means to teach something to the disciples. For example, we have this account in the life of the Buddha. There was this particular place that was terrified by an individual who had very bad intentions. And that individual was extremely ugly to the point where everyone who would see that person during the day would be terrified, would be appalled. And people would run away. You know, just as this person would walk down the street, people would run away. We definitely want to avoid him, but he was like so ugly. He was like frightening, terrifying, ugly. Okay, so he was terrorizing people in this area from his ugliness. So in this way, he was actually taking advantage, or he was taking control of the whole area. People would leave, would scatter, and he would just settle into this place, do whatever he wanted during the evening, and then during the day he would emerge and come and walk down the street and totally terrify people who would have to run away. So in order to tame him and pacify him, the Buddha appeared. And now the Buddha appeared in an aspect that was even uglier, even more terrifying than this ugly person's appearance. And when this person saw the Buddha, he stopped right in his track and he thought, oh, there is someone who's even uglier than me. There is someone who's even more terrifying than me. So definitely he took notice of the Buddha. So skillful means of the Buddha to get the attention of this person, to make this person stop in their tracks, and little by little he tamed him, he pacified him, he taught him Dharma. So it was skillful means to manifest in a very ugly aspect. So when we see faults in the Guru, it could be their skillful means that they want to teach someone something. Okay, so as you can see here, we meditate in this way, and in particular here we meditate on the fact that we cannot be sure of appearances when we perceive faults in the Guru, and that in reality the fault is on our own side that we perceive the faults. It doesn't mean that the fault exists on the side of the Guru. And as we meditate, we combine this meditation with prayers and supplications. At the top of page 7, we have here the supplication. We say, Supreme Guru, please grant your blessings so that the attitude of seeing faults in our spiritual teacher does not arise even for a single instant, and the intense faith perceiving whatever the spiritual teacher do as positive arise easily. So as you can see, this is how we do. We combine meditation with supplication, meditation, supplication, and this is how we get along in the path. So it says, due to this fervent request from the body of Guru Yidam, at the crown of your head descends nectar together with 5-color light, which enters in you as well as in all mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies what hinders this realization. In particular, imagine that the special realization of this topic is generated in all of our minds. So in particular, imagine that you generate the realization that says that when I see faults in the Guru, this is my fault. It's not the Guru's fault. So with this, we come to the conclusion of the first of those outlines. We have the manner to practice Guru devotion in thought. And in that we have two: cultivate faith, that is the root, which is just what we finish here. And then the next session is cultivate respect, remembering his kindness. Okay, so if you are trained in logical arguments, you could follow this. So you could say, take the subject matter, the gurus with whom I have a dharmic connection, direct and indirect lamas. It is not appropriate to think that they are not Buddhas, because there is no valid awareness that establishes that they are not Buddhas. All right? So I cannot think that they are not Buddhas because there's no valid mind that proves that they are not Buddhas. Also, you will go down the second argument that says, take take as a subject matter all these gurus with whom I have a dharmic connection, direct and indirect gurus. I should see them as the Buddhas because, according to my own capacity, they are acting the enlightened activities of the Buddha. They perform the enlightened activities of the Buddha. So to summarize this point, we have to train ourselves to say, I do not see any faults in the Guru. I only see good qualities in the Guru. And when I directly see these gurus as the Buddhas, I directly receive the blessings of the Buddha, and by directly receiving the blessings of the Buddha, this is an incredible benefit of me, as it removes everything that is impure within myself and strengthens all the good qualities. So this is an extremely important point. So now we move into the next outline. The next outline is cultivate respect through remembering his kindness. Here you will see that in the easy path, we don't have an elaborate presentation of this subject. It's only presented in a short way. However, if you look at other Lamrim texts, you will find that this is presented through 4 outlines. So remembering the kindness, you consider that he is kinder than the Buddha. The second point is that you remember his kindness in teaching you Dharma. The third point is that you remember his kindness in terms of blessing your mind. And the fourth point is you remember his kindness in terms of attracting you through giving you presents. Okay, so let's have a look at the text. We are on the middle of page 7. So while clearly visualizing the spiritual teachers in the space in front of you, reflect. So remember, you visualize all the teachers with whom you have a dharmic connection, direct and indirect gurus, and you reflect. Those spiritual teachers have been really kind to me. Okay, what is the reason that you say that? Why do you think they're really kind to you? It is only due to their kindness that I have comprehended the profound path, granting easily the precious state of Buddhahood. That is the supreme, perfect, and complete liberation that is free from all samsaric and unfortunate realms suffering. So this is the reason, all right? The fact that I have understood the path that leads to liberation from all types of suffering, it is due to the kindness of my gurus. Therefore, they are really kind to me. So that is a general presentation here, but if we go in the more elaborate way, we have to consider that the gurus, direct and indirect gurus with whom we have this Dharma connection, are actually kinder than the Buddha. In general, when we talk about the gurus and the Buddhas, and we say in terms of qualities, the gurus are equal to the Buddhas. But when we consider their kindness, we say that the guru is kinder than the Buddha. And the reason why we say that is, of course, countless Buddhas have come, and those Buddhas have taught countless students, and they taught those students, they liberated them, and those students now have progressed and they are free. However, at the time that those Buddhas were taming all those disciples, we didn't have the fortune to receive those teachings. And as a result of that, we remain within samsara. And now we have met this guru who comes and picks us up from this point where we are left behind. Everyone has been liberated and we are left behind. So the guru comes now and teaches Dharma to us. So these gurus that teaches these very crucial points of what is to be practiced and what is to be abandoned are kinder than all the 1,000 Buddhas who came in the past, who tamed 1,000, countless of other disciples. They're kinder because they take care of us who are left behind. And even if we were to meet the Buddhas right now, what more would the Buddhas do? They would just do exactly the same activity, teach the Dharma, teach us what is to be practiced, what is to be abandoned. They wouldn't do anything extra, anything above, over and above than what the teacher does.
Yes.
So we consider in general the kindness of our gurus, and specifically we consider that the gurus are even kinder than our teacher, Guru Shakyamuni. Buddha Shakyamuni has come into this world. He turned the wheel of Dharma and he taught the Dharma in an impeccable way to many disciples. So he taught and liberated many disciples. However, at that time, we didn't have the fortune to receive teachings directly from Buddha Shakyamuni. And as a result, we were left behind. Now it is due to the kindness of our gurus that we have obtained a human rebirth. And in this human rebirth, we have the good fortune to come in contact with the Buddhist teachings. And this guru has gone into all the trouble of taking care of us, teaching us everything. They give us initiations, they give us transmissions, they give us commentaries. They explained every point of the text. They really set us up properly on the path. They really explain, open up all the teachings for us. So our gurus, the ones with whom we have direct dharmic connection, are kinder than Buddha Shakyamuni. So we go through this process of remembering his kindness, and we consider that his kindness than all the Buddhas, but also we consider his kindness in terms of teaching the Dharma to us and in terms of blessing our own mind. And the more we remember the kindness, the more we generate respect for them. So it is also beneficial here to remember to look at some examples, and we can look at the previous lives of the being who became Buddha Shakyamuni, like whilst he was still a bodhisattva and was training in the path. At times, in order to receive even one verse of Dharma advice, he had to endure great difficulties and make sacrifices. So in one lifetime, in order to receive the verse that was teaching impermanence of phenomena, he gave away his wife and his beloved children to the teacher in order to receive just one verse. in another lifetime to receive a verse that was saying that all phenomena are impermanent, all phenomena are in the nature of suffering, and all phenomena are empty and selfless. In order to receive just these 4 lines, he had to give away, make sacrifice by means of his own body, his flesh, parts of the limbs of his body. So if we consider those stories, we can see that actually we have it very easy. We are very lucky, right? We receive these teachings from our gurus. We just have to show up. There's no difficulty, there's no hardship. Very readily, they expose all the teachings without keeping any part secret and so forth. So they give the teachings freely. That's a kindness. So, in particular, we want to consider how the gurus are very kind. They are very kind because they bless our mind. So at this point, we have to consider that any good quality that we have, any virtuous thought that we have ever generated in our mind, it actually comes from the blessing of the guru. Anything positive that we have ever thought is due to the blessing of the guru. And this is something also that J. Rinpoche in the Lamrim Chenmo has said, that whatever realization, whatever virtue I have ever created, I have ever done, is due to the kindness of the blessing of my guru. Therefore, you should always petition him. So very important advice here that says that whatever good quality we have, whatever positive thought that we have, really comes from the guru. It comes from the guru blessing our mind stream. And therefore, when we are seeking to develop these realizations, if we want to progress along the path, if we want to overcome all these obstacles that we have that are blocking our way to generating these particular realizations, it is very important that we make supplications, we request, we ask the guru to bless our mind stream. So any thoughts and any meditations, any reflection we want to do, it has to be done combined with this requesting for blessings from the guru. So as you can see here, we go through the process of remembering the kindness of the guru in order to generate respect. There are different ways that we can do this. In general, we can consider how the gurus are kinder than the Buddhas. We can specifically consider how they're kinder than Buddha Shakyamuni. We can consider their kindness in terms of teaching us Dharma. We can consider their kindness in terms of blessing our mind stream. They can consider their kindness in terms of making offerings to, little presents to us and so forth. Also, at this point, any specific instances that you have where you have personally felt that your gurus have been kind to you in this or that way, it is very important to incorporate that, include that into your meditation. So this is how we perform this type of analytical meditation until we induce that certainty that yes, indeed, the gurus are extremely kind. And when we have that certainty of their kindness, there is a very strong sense of respect towards them. Then we do the placement meditation, and then again, we incorporate requests in that. So if we quickly glance back into the easy path, so we're visualizing the spiritual teachers. We have this idea, we explain, the spiritual teacher has been very kind to me. We give the reason for that. And then we say, we make the request that says, please bless me to generate the correct realization in terms of seeing the kindness of the guru and removing any ingratitude towards the Guru. And due to this fervent request, from the body of the Guru Yidam at the crown of your head descends nectar together with the 5 colors of light, which enters in you as well as in all mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies what hinders this realization. In particular, imagine that the special realization of these topics is generated within your minds. So in this particular case, we generate to be able to recognize the kindness of the Guru in order to generate respect. So we pray that whatever obstacles, we pray that the Guru blesses, so that whatever obstacles that stops us from seeing the kindness of the Guru and having respect for the Guru are removed. And then we request for blessings that the realization that allows us to see the kindness and generate respect are generated. And this is a common thing when we request the blessings, is for these 2 things: remove the obstacles and allow the realization to be developed. Okay, so up to this point, we have presented the first of the big sections. So remember, we're in the actual session, and in the actual session, we're going to look at 2 outlines, how to properly rely on the Guru in terms of thought or mental attitude, and how we will rely in terms of action. So the first one, how we rely in terms of thought, we have 2 sections. The first one is developing faith, that is the root, and the second one is developing respect by remembering their kindness. So we have concluded this, and we now move into the second outline, the second section, which is the actual way to practice by relying in terms of action. Okay, so at the bottom of page 7, whilst visualizing the spiritual teachers in front of you, make supplication. Supreme Guru Yidams, please grant us your blessings so that I will be able to keep up without hesitation my body, my life, my possessions, and so forth for these spiritual teachers who are real Buddhas. In particular, may I please them with the offering of practicing in accord to their words. So we are requesting that we will be able to offer everything without any hesitation. Our bodies, our life, our possessions, our enjoyments, everything that we have. And in particular, in addition to that, that we will be able to please them by practicing exactly according to their advice. Okay, so when we look at this section where we say the actual way to rely in terms of action, if we look at the ornament of sutras, the text there indicates there are 3 ways that we can do that. It says we can do this through offering material gifts. That's the first one. The second one, we can do it through service. And the fourth one is by practicing exactly according to the advice of the Guru. So if we look at this, the first one is quite obvious. We can make different types of material offerings. The second one, which is service. Service we can offer both in terms of physical activities and verbal activities. Service in terms of physical activities includes things such as, for example, taking care of the Guru, when nursing the Guru when the Guru is ill, massaging the body, cleaning the body of the Guru, and so forth. And in terms of speech is praising the Guru, speaking about the qualities of the Guru, and so forth. But it is the third one, which is making the offering or making the supreme offering of practice, practicing exactly according to the advice of the Guru. This is considered to be the supreme of all offerings. So, for example, the way that we do this, it is explained that by being very vigilant of whatever vows we have, so whether it is vows of individual liberation, bodhisattva vows, ordination vows, and so on and so forth, whatever vows we have, we're very diligent about those vows, and depending upon that, we engage in analytical and placement meditation, and we offer our practice to the Guru. That is the supreme offering. So as we can see here in the easy path, again, we follow the same pattern. We have made a request. We say, please bless me to actually be able to make all these types of offerings and to please him by practicing according to his advice. And then, due to this fervent request, from the body of the Guru Yidam at the crown of your head descends nectar together with the 5 colors of light, which enter in you as well as in all other mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies what hinders this realization. In particular, imagine that the special realization of these topics is generated in all of our minds. So again, we do the same thing. We visualize that by receiving these blessings, we remove whatever obstacle, whatever is hinder us from having this perfect realization. And together with that, this perfect ability to totally rely upon the Guru in this particular way. And then with those purifying nectars on the second phase, we imagine that everything good and wholesome within us increases. So our lifespan, our merit, our realizations increase, and we are perfectly able to rely upon the Guru, and in particular, practice according to his advice. And at the same time, the body becomes clear and lucid and transparent. Okay, so here, following this presentation of the easy path, you can see that we have come to the end or the conclusion of the actual session. So if you want to meditate on how to develop a proper Kuru devotion, this is how you have to meditate. Now, to tell you the truth, in reality, within this section, we have to go through the list of looking at the benefits of relying on the Guru and the disadvantages of not relying in the Guru. But these things are not presented in the easy path. They are understood to be included within the preliminaries. You must have done those things in the preliminaries. So we have seen what are the actual topics that we need to engage when we do the main part of this session, when we meditate on the proper way to rely on the Guru. All those points can be summarized under the three subjects, right? So that's another way of reorganizing and presenting all this material. So the first one is, what is it that you want to prove, or what is it that you want to establish? The second one is, how do you establish this? And the third one is the result that comes from achieving just that thing. Okay, so first of all, what is our objective? What do we aim to achieve by doing this type of meditation? We want to be able to see the Guru as being the real Buddha, because if we see him as a real Buddha, what comes from that is irreversible faith and respect. So that is the first element. What do I want to achieve with this meditation? See the Guru as the Buddha and have faith and respect. How am I going to achieve this? How am I going to prove all this? I'm going to do it by training in faith, which is the root, and I'm going to do it by training in remembering his kindness that allows me to generate respect. The third one, what is the result that will come from that? The result for having trained in this way is that I will be able to actually rely on the Guru, both in terms of actions and in terms of actually practicing exactly according to his advice. Okay, so what's my objective? How do I achieve this? What's the result? Okay, so we have come to the conclusion of the actual session. We have explained that in every session we have the preliminaries, we have the actual part, and then we have the conclusion. So we are at the conclusion now. If you go at the top of page 8, it says the third outline, how to practice at the conclusion. Make dedications with fervent aspiration of the roots of virtue derived from having made supplications whilst visualizing the Guru Yidam on the top of one's head, as well as from reciting mantras for the accomplishment of all the temporary and ultimate goals of oneself and others. So let's see what is included in that short paragraph. Remember that we have established this visualization, like at the crown of our head, we have Guru, who is in the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni, and from his heart he has sent out rays of light, and with these rays of light we have established the visualization of all direct and indirect lamas with whom we have a dharmic connection in the space in front of us. So now that we have finished this meditation, the actual part of the meditation, all these visualized lamas, they come and dissolve into the Guru Shakyamuni at the crown of our head. And also, these, as they come and dissolve there, Guru Shakyamuni is at the crown of our head, and we recite either 3 or 7 times, I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru, I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru, I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru. And after that, Guru Shakyamuni comes and dissolves within ourselves. By dissolving within us, we now become Buddha Shakyamunis. So we assume the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni. Rays of light radiate from our heart and they strike all sentient beings that are around us. And by striking them, also, we transform those sentient beings into Buddha Shakyamunis. So then we think, I have led all those sentient beings into the state of Buddhahood. I have made them Buddha Shakyamunis. So now we visualize at the heart of every Buddha Shakyamuni a moon disk. So my heart, because I am Buddha Shakyamuni, and also at the heart of all those sentient beings who are Buddha Shakyamuni, there's a moon disk. And at the center of this moon disk is the syllable Hum. And around at the edge of the moon are the syllables of the mantra Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha. So now we begin doing the recitation. We can recite this 100 times, 200 times, however many times you recite it. And then from the virtue of having performed all this and having done this recitation and visualization and all this, we dedicate and we say, by this virtue, may I quickly become Guru Buddha and lead all sentient beings to that state. So this is what is referred to, where it says you have to make dedication with a fervent aspiration. The roots of virtue derived from having made supplications and having recited the mantras, okay? So in brief, all the gurus consolidate in Guru Shakyamuni. Guru Shakyamuni dissolves into us. We become Guru Shakyamuni. We make everyone Shakyamuni and we do the recitation. And then we dedicate the virtue of that. Okay, so as we say at the very end, we do a dedication. So when we do a dedication, it's very good to reflect on what we achieved during this session. And we said during this session, I was able to meditate on proper reliance on the spiritual teacher that is considered to be the root of the path. And meditating on this subject, meditating in this way that I have, creates an incredible amount of virtue. So I take the virtue that I created from this specific session now, and I pull it together with all the other virtue of the 3 times. So any virtue I have created in the past, any virtue I'm creating now, and any virtue that I will create in the future. So I gather, I amass, I add up all this amount of virtue, and I fully dedicate it so that all sentient beings that are as equal as the vastness of space will definitely reach the state of perfect enlightenment. Further, I dedicate that in all my lives I will never be deprived of spiritual teachers, that in all my lives I will never be separated from these spiritual teachers, and that I will be able to perfectly keep whatever promises and vows I have taken. I will keep those like my own eyes. I will protect them like my own eyes. And by protecting this, may I be able to bring into completion and perfection all these sutric and tantric practices. All of those pure practices that are for the sake of subduing and training my own mind, may I be totally successful and following them in the perfect way. And more generally, may any meaningful Dharma activities will totally come to fruition without any obstacles and be perfectly completed. So dedicate strongly in this way. So these are good things to dedicate for. Okay, so as we say here, if you have the time to make an extensive dedication prayer, that is fine. If you don't have the time or the inclination to do an extensive dedication prayer, you can just do a very condensed one. And you can say, you know, whatever virtue I have created or will create over the 3 times, I dedicate them in the same way that all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas do. So, you know, very general and generic, all-encompassing dedication. And of course, you can choose your own verse of dedication. I dedicate to follow the path of those unmistaken beings, and so on and so forth. So there are many prayers to choose from. Now, at the end of your meditation, after you've done this dedication, it is very good to do a final examination. So what do we mean by this? At the beginning of your session, you set up your intention. And what is the intention at the beginning of the session? It says that whatever is the duration of this session, during this session, I will not allow my mind to be distracted. So I will meditate properly on all the subjects of this meditation. I have to understand, you know, the outlines. I have to understand the particular order in which they come. I have to understand the nature of these meditations. And by understanding this properly, I will meditate without being distracted. So that was our intention at the beginning of the session. Now we have finished. We go back and examine, did it go according to our intention or not? If indeed we have done a good meditation, then we have every reason to rejoice and say, I did such a good meditation. Today, this particular session was really so good. And from now on, I want all my meditation sessions to continue along this way. If you examine your meditation and you say, actually, I was distracted, I messed up the meditation, that was not a good meditation. It is good to recognize this. It's good to regret it, to have a sense of that was not a good session. And then set your intention again and say, but I will make sure, I will do my best from now on, my future meditation sessions will be better. So it is said that if we do this, there is great benefit. Okay, so as you can see here, we have come to a natural break in the text. The next session that is presented is the second outline, how to practice during the intervals between sessions. So we have seen, following here the presentation of the easy path, how to deal with the first Lamrim topic, which is how to train on the route of the path, the correct way to rely on the teacher. The way that we do this is by examining what we do during the session and what we do in between sessions. In terms of what we do during the session, we divide the session into 3 parts. We have the preliminaries, the actual part, and the conclusion. In the preliminaries, we engage those 6 preliminary practices. In the actual part, we meditate on how to properly rely on the guru in terms of thought and how to properly rely in terms of action. And then at the conclusion, we have this visualization of Guru Shakyamuni at the crown of our head. We do the mantra recitation, and then we do all the dedications and the prayers at the conclusion. And then after that, we ended the period which is in between sessions. We will stop here for today. We will not go into this, but just some general advice. We say that we do sessions, we meditate during the day. Now, you might hear that you perform 4 sessions a day, or you might do 3 or 2 or even just 1 session a day. Now, most commonly they say, you perform 4 sessions a day. However, this is not a definite number. It doesn't mean that you cannot do more than that. You can have 5 sessions a day, 6 sessions a day, and so forth. Especially for beginners, it is advised that you have many sessions, but they are short in duration. So many short sessions. So definitely you could do 5 or 6 sessions and so forth. But as you can see, depending on the time that you have, you might just do 1 session a day. How long is your session? Well, you build up the practice gradually. You can start from 5 minutes, go to 15 minutes, do half an hour, do 1 hour, and so forth. So we gradually build up our practice, and we meditate every day. So from day to day, from week to week, from month to month, from year to year, this is how we build up the meditation and how we have the experiences of this meditation. Okay, so this is it for tonight in terms of Geshe-la's presentation. Okay, so the question was, first of all, there was like expression of gratitude for Geshe-la for explaining the subject of properly relying on the Guru. Thank you, Geshe-la, it was very clear. And then the first question that came was that, we are confused due to our afflictions. So how can we actually really check the Lama, and how can we properly rely if we can how can we know if this Lama has all the qualities or not? Okay, so as we say, this issue of presenting the benefits of relying on the Guru, the disadvantages of not relying on the Guru, the qualities of the Guru, and so forth, is not presented in the Easy Path, because the Easy Path is a very short text. But if you look at Lamrim Chenmo, you will find under this section, we have quite an extensive section on these subjects. So in terms of how to rely on the teacher, that is the root of the path, there are 5 outlines. So we have an elaborate explanation. We have all the characteristics of the teacher. We have all the characteristics of the students. Then we have how the student relies, which is relying in terms of thought and in terms of action. And then we have the benefits of relying. And then we have the shortcomings of not relying. And at the end, we have a summary of all this. So as you can see, in the Easy Path, we only have just the middle part, how to rely in terms of thought and in terms of action. But the first thing before you rely is really you have to examine the teacher to see if the teacher has all the necessary qualifications. So in the Ornament of Mahayana Sutras, we have a list of 10 qualities that the teacher should have. Now, again, we need to understand that in terms of teachers, we can identify 3 types of teachers. You have the supreme teachers, you have teachers that are mediocre, and you have the teachers that are, let's say, the least capable teachers. Okay, if you're looking for a supreme, the best teacher, then that teacher must have the whole list of 10 qualities. If you cannot find all the 10 qualities, and indeed at this time, which is the generative era, it's very hard to find all the qualities, you should at least find half of those qualities in the teacher. And when we say half, obviously some qualities are missing, some qualities are present. The ones that are present should not be, let's say, minor or very easy qualities. It should be the qualities that are harder to cultivate. Okay. Or again, if you cannot even find 5 qualities, they say at the very least, at the very minimum, the teacher should have 2 qualities. The first one is that the teacher should have more qualities than you. And the second one is that the teacher should have more concern about future lives than what he has for this life. It is inappropriate to take someone as a teacher who has the same level or even less qualities than you. This will not do. The teacher must have more qualities than you. That is quite a crucial point. So after you have thoroughly investigated and you have concluded that, you know what, this teacher has enough qualities and this teacher is good enough for me, and I am confident that this teacher will be able to guide me along the path. After your investigation, when you reach this decision, then you rely upon the teacher. Once you make the decision to rely upon the teacher, there's no going back. There is no going back into this doubt, but is it a good teacher? Did I make a mistake? That's why first you investigate, and when you have this clarity, you make the decision, do I rely or not? Okay, we said that one of the most difficult issues is to ascertain whether the guru is the Buddha or not. And we say there are ways of establishing this. Go and look at scriptural quotations. Now, in the class, we just briefly mentioned one or two quotations. But as we say, there are countless quotations in Sutra and Tantra. Open up those books. Find these quotations. And also, in addition to that, we said that there is logical reasoning that establishes this. So it's very good to go through the scriptural reasoning and through the logical reasoning, because this will allow you to generate this certainty, like the confidence that this is a proper teacher. And then when that's clear, you decide that you rely. But here is the main point. Whether this Lama is a Buddha or not, the thing is that from your own side, you will derive benefit if you see him as a Buddha. Actually, that Lama could be anyone, from someone who has not entered the path all the way to someone who has reached the ground of Buddhahood. But whether it is in reality the Buddha or it is not, the great benefit comes if you see him as the Buddha. So that's the main point. Okay, so we stop here for tonight. Thank you, everyone. And let's dedicate all the virtue that we have created, dedicate so that all suffering that the 6 types of migrating beings experience against their wish, all this suffering is removed, and that there will quickly be happiness and well-being and peace in this world. Please dedicate and pray accordingly.